Gastroenteritis is inflammation of the stomach and the intestines. It's also another fancy word usually for food poisoning, and it's caused by microbes like bacteria, viruses, and parasites. It can lead to symptoms like diarrhea, vomiting, abdominal pain, and cramping, and the causes are microbes. So when we look at bacteria, common bacterial species that can cause gastroenteritis are Salmonella, E. coli, Campylobacter, and even Vibrio cholerae, which causes cholera, which is a bad diarrheal disease. These bacteria can be found in contaminated food or water. Next, we have viruses. Viruses like neurovirus and rotavirus are common causes, especially in children. They're very contagious and they can spread rapidly, especially in places like schools and cruise ships. There's also parasites. So parasites like worm infections can cause gastroenteritis, and they're typically found in contaminated water. When we look at the transmission of these pathogens is usually contaminated food or water. So consuming food or water that's contaminated with pathogens, that's not properly cooked. There's also person-to-person contact. These are very infectious. And then finally, proper hygiene is very important. So always wash your hands after you go to the bathroom and before eating. When we look at the symptoms of gastroenteritis, it's basically inflammation. So itis means inflammation, gastro means stomach, and entero means intestines. So you get this inflammation, and then a lot of times you also get vomiting and diarrhea, and then the inflammation causes the abdominal cramps and the pain. At a cellular level, what happens in the pathogenesis is, for example, if it's bacterial gastroenteritis, bacteria like Salmonella or E. coli, so Salmonella from like undercooked chicken or eggs, will stick to the intestinal lining and they will begin to multiply. The bacteria will produce toxins that damage the cells lining the intestines, and this leads to a lot of inflammation. E. coli can also produce toxins that destroy cells in the intestines and kidneys. For viruses will infect the epithelial cells and they will cause cell death and inflammation. This results in bad nutrient absorption and fluid secretion, which leads to diarrhea and vomiting. And then finally, for worm infections, they disrupt the normal functioning of the gut lining. They cause inflammation, and this causes a lot of times can lead to diarrhea. Our body's immune response basically involves activating immune cells because you have a pathogen, and there's a release of cytokines which can contribute to inflammation and all the pain that you see with gastroenteritis. The final thing I want to say about it is this is called a self-limiting infection. Self-limiting means that an infection that usually goes away on its own. The reason why this is a self-limiting infection is because a lot of times when people have gastroenteritis, they excrete the pathogen. So there's vomiting or diarrhea, and then the person feels better. But a lot of times they could need medical intervention. And the most important thing is hydration, rest, and obviously go to a doctor if you have these.